Hello everyone, I'm Megan Ernst and I am joining you for our third discussion together in this class. And this week I chose to talk about the site of the Battle of Long Island Flats that took place in East Tennessee. So while the revolution was really getting ignited in New England in 1775, the war did reach the southern backcountry in 1776. I know most people don't think about Tennessee whenever they think about the American Revolution, the Revolutionary War, but as Britain was probing south into the Southern theater, a number of Cherokee leaders aligned themselves with the Crown. And together they started launching coordinated attacks on frontier settlements in that area. And so the Holston River Valley was a more contested place in that area. And on July 20th, 1776, the tension boiled over at what was called the Long Island Flats. And today that falls within modern Kingsport, Tennessee. So there, militia under Captain James Thompson collided with a force of Cherokee warriors led by Dragging Canoe. And primary and secondary accounts describe a short but bloody battle in which the militia repelled the Cherokee attack. And the settlers there, they saw this as proof that they could hold off these attacks, they could hold the Holston River Valley, and this was during the crisis summer of 1776. So this was a pretty big deal for the settlers. This victory meant a lot to them. But that victory did not end the violence between these parties. It really only escalated from there. And later on in 1776, Fort Patrick Henry was established very nearby to where this battle happened. And that became a staging point for punitive expeditions deep into the Cherokee territory. And then the next year, commissioners... lost my notes here. The next year, the commissioners negotiated a treaty that ceded a lot of Cherokee lands and accelerated white migration into East Tennessee. So, unfortunately, though, preservation of this site is basically non-existent. Long Island does remain a designated historic landmark, and a small section of this land was returned to the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians in 1776. And that land being returned to them is honored with a monument there. You can reach by a small footbridge that takes you to the island. This island, by the way, is in the middle of a river. It's not very big. But unfortunately, like I said, industry has developed heavily around this area and throughout this area. And so in 1996, the National Park Service even recommended removing the landmark designation for loss of historical integrity. So the altered setting there really makes it difficult to have that historical experience that you're looking for. You can't, kind of put yourself in that moment in time really in any way by visiting this place. So I'll be honest, as a field trip designation, this site of the Battle of Long Island Flats, it would offer very little return for the time and the cost of going there. Like I said, there's really nothing to see there other than this monument now. And it's very, very developed by industry all around. The historical value has really been stripped away to almost nothing. And a visit there really would be more of a lesson on what you can't see rather than what you can, and be more of a lesson on development and preservation than a battlefield, really, which is an important lesson in itself. And that's why I chose to stick with this site, even though it's really not worth visiting. I really enjoyed learning all about the events that took place there. but I wanted to keep with this one, even though I didn't want to visit it, just to kind of remind myself of how much industry can affect historical preservation. So that is my discussion for this week. I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone else chose, and I hope everyone has a great week. Thanks for your time.